Hello friends, welcome to CEC live lecture series on management accounting. The topic of today's discussion is strategic cost management, in which I'll be telling you about different methods of strategic cost management. The moment this term strategic cost management comes in front of us, we have a very obvious question. What exactly it is? Why do we need strategic cost management when we already have cost management, or we already had different techniques of management accounting? When we talk about the word strategy is basically a policy which is being created by us, which is being drafted or crafted by management to achieve something. Since market is growing very competitive, so nowadays management accountants, they always try to leave no stone unturned to minimize their cost and to maximize their profit. So in this topic of strategic cost management, first I will be telling you about what exactly this strategic cost management is, and then we shall talk about different methods of strategic cost management, or you can say different tools of strategic cost management which are in practice by different corporate entities. So let us start our discussion with the topic of strategic cost management. In today's lecture, I have thought of, or I have a plan of telling you about target costing, life cycle costing, Kaizen costing, and activity based management. So these are four important, or you can say very frequently used tools or techniques by the management accountants when we talk about strategic cost management. So let us first understand what exactly this strategic cost management is. If you ask me in a layman's word what strategic cost management is, I would say that in this technique, or in this domain of cost management, we try to develop cost information in such a way that it is helping managers in making strategic choices. And when I say we have to make strategic choices, which I mean to indicate that we have two options. One is to identify the relevant cost and irrelevant cost, and another is to go ahead with whatever we are bearing with. So obviously the first one is better, that we have to identify which one is relevant, which one is irrelevant. So managers, they make strategic choices, and while making this choice, the greater emphasis is on maximizing the use of resources in future. So whatever resources we have, be it manpower, be it material, be it labor, because when we talk about cost accounting, we have MLO, that is material, labor and overheads, and we always try to maximize the use of resources in future, so that our profit can be maximum and obviously the cost should be minimum. So strategic cost management, if you wish to summarize, you can say that in this domain of cost management, managers are making strategic choices with a greater emphasis on maximizing the use of resources. And when we have to define, we can say that it is a process of reducing total cost. And when we say that we have to reduce the total cost, do remember that we cannot compromise with the quality of a product. So we have to reduce total cost for improving the strategic position of a business. So we have to gain some strategic advantage by reducing our total cost, and this aim or this goal can be achieved by having a thorough understanding of three important aspects of a particular cost: that the cost which is supporting a company's strategic position, the cost which is going to weaken your strategic position, and obviously the third one which has no impact, or you can say which is neutral cost, or you can say which is neither going to positively affect nor negatively affect the strategic position of a business. So in this process, what we do is we identify the different types of cost with this perspective, that whether this particular cost can improvise my strategic position, or if it is weakening my position, how to overcome that. The second one is more important for us, because we can improve our strategic position, that is good thing, but any cost which is which is actually causing some weakness into our costing system, that need to be taken care of, and that is our ultimate goal or main motive while going for strategic cost management. So in this entire process, when we try to reduce the total cost, our emphasis is to identify the very nature of that cost, whether it is going to strengthen my position, or it is going to cause some threat to us, which means it is going to weaken our system, or it has no impact. If it has no impact, obviously we don't bother about that, but if it is in any manner going to weaken our system, or it is going to cause some threat to our costing, obviously we have to take great care of that because that is the only way to minimize our cost and maximize our profit. Now, when we talk about strategic cost management, it is imperative for us to understand the key pillars of strategic cost management. What are those key pillars on which the strategic cost management is based? There are three important pillars into it. One is strategic positioning, another is cost driver analysis, and last one is value chain analysis. So when we talk about different tools of strategic cost management, our entire focus is on these three pillars. Either we are going to talk about strategic positioning of our product or of our company, or we are going to talk about cost driver analysis, which cost driver is significant for us, which one is insignificant for us, and lastly the value chain analysis. This value chain analysis is also very important. So strategic positioning, you understand. Cost driver analysis, we can assume that what exactly is going to affect our cost, that analysis is being done. But when we talk about value chain analysis, we have to understand what we do into this process. In this process of value chain analysis, we first identify those costs or those activities which are adding value to the end goal, that is our product. If they are adding some value to our product, they are significant for us. But meanwhile, there are certain costs or certain activities which are not at all adding any value to our production process, and still they are into existence, and they are basically our target while conducting this value chain analysis. We have to get rid of those redundant processes, those redundant costs, because they are not at all adding any value to our product. So in this value chain analysis, what we do, this is another pillar of strategic cost management. And whenever we talk or discuss any tool of strategic cost management, our focus or emphasis is on these three pillars. So every tool shall actually be emphasizing on any one of these pillars. Either we will talk about strategic positioning, or we shall talk about cost driver analysis, or value chain analysis. So with this understanding of what we do in strategic cost management, now we shall move on to different tools which are being used by management accountants across the globe for gaining some strategic advantage, or you can say reducing their cost. And for that, what they do, that I am going to discuss with you. So starting with the first method, that is called target costing. This term target costing itself is giving or explaining what exactly we do in this method of strategic cost management. We have to identify some target, and that target is related to, or it must be related to, costing. So initially a student thinks that we have to identify some target cost initially, but answer is no, because we are not at all starting with the target costing. It's a backward process in which we first identify something else, and the end result or the ultimate goal is target costing. So what we do in target costing, that I shall be telling you, but before that we should know that it is a strategic cost management technique which is used by most of the companies since 1970s, especially the Japanese companies. Most of the Japanese companies, they are actually following, and they have been following for very long, this very technique of costing, and they name it as target costing. The beauty of this method is that they don't go like our traditional costing system, in which we are deciding our cost by design, by product design. Normally what we do in cost plus or markup pricing, we first decide our cost. That suppose I am having a factory and I know that this is the cost of material, this is the cost of labor, this is my cost of overheads. After that I add some margin into that, and then I say this is my total cost, and after adding profit, this is going to be my selling price. But the Japanese companies what they do, they always focus on customer. They actually go ahead with this notion that what exactly market is willing to pay for this product. For a given set of value, what market is willing to pay. And accordingly they identify that if this is going to be the value and this is the profit needed by our company for survival, this should be the cost of our product, or this should be the selling price of the product. So they start with the selling price, then identify their profit, and eventually they come up with the result of cost, and they call it as target costing. So they have a target, they are targeting towards their customers, and target is for identifying first what is the acceptable selling price in the market. And once we are aware of that, once we identify or determine the target selling price, we can add target profit. that this should be my target profit, and once I know the selling price and profit, the difference of these two can provide me the target cost. And this is what we do in this method of target costing. So it is basically used in those markets where the controlling cost is extremely important, or you can say the market is very competitive. So it has actually emerged as a significant tool in markets which are extremely competitive. Initially Japanese were using it, but now we cannot say that it is confined to the boundaries of Japan only. It is basically increasingly being used by the companies across the globe, because the market is going extremely competitive, and it is so much so that it is the market which is deciding the price of products. And you must be understanding, you must be witnessing that suppose if you have to buy a cell phone of a given value, of a given value composition, that these are my need sets, these are the significant features I need in my mobile, you must be understanding, you must be finding or witnessing that most of the companies, they are maintaining their price in that specific range. Suppose if you decide that I have to buy a cell phone of 25,000 rupees for a given set of features, and interestingly or surprisingly, you find in the market that all companies have some product in that price range. How do they know about it? Because they know that it is the expectation of a customer nowadays that if this is the cost, these features are supposed to be the essential part of that product. So most of the companies, they are trying to design their product or price their product as per the sentiments, as per the expectations, as per the need of the customer. So what is happening, that it is the market which is deciding the selling price of product. Now gone are the days when we used to say that it is a company which is going to decide the selling price. So market is deciding the selling price, market is giving you the selling price, that for this value set, this is the selling price, and there is a very little opportunity for individual organizations to set prices. So if this is a scenario, if your market is competitive, then obviously you have to resort to, you have to follow, you have to adopt that target costing. So it basically implies developing product cost in terms of what the market is willing to pay, and that too for a product with specific characteristics. It is not like that you are offering product in that price range which is expected by the customers, but you are not offering those values. Your product specifications are not according to that. If it is not so, obviously market is not going to accept your product. So for a given value set, for a given specification of a product, you have to decide the price what customer is willing to pay, and that is going to be the selling price of your product. And in this target costing, we can say that it is a systematic approach to establish product cost goals that are based on market driven standards, and they are basically acting as a strategic management tool for not only reducing the cost at early stages of product planning and design, but also maximizing the profit. When I say that I reduce cost, obviously my profit is going to increase as an end result. So what are the steps in target costing? It is very simple. We have to first identify the customer needs, that in whatever market, in whichever market we are operating, what is the need set of my customer. Once we have identified, we can calculate the acceptable target selling price for the product by the way of market survey, that or you can say, if you don't feel like going for market survey, you can also resort to the price of the product, the price of those products which are being floated in the market by the competitors and they are acceptable to customers. So you can calculate an acceptable selling price for the product, and once we are aware of the acceptable selling price for a given product specification, working backward from the sales price, companies can establish an acceptable target profit, and eventually they can calculate target cost. So if you want me to explain this entire process in terms of a formula, I can show it to you, that it is very simple to calculate. Target cost is equal to target selling price minus target profit. So it's not like that we were computing profit by finding selling price, subtracting cost, and then saying that this is my target profit. Now it is the target price and target profit which is giving me the target cost. So my costing department is going to have a target now, that with this target you have to manufacture. You cannot go beyond that limit of cost, and within that limit you have to go for it. Now when we have to talk about salient features of target costing, it is determined by market driven standards and not the product design. Unlike the previous traditional costing methods where we were deciding our cost or standards by design. We are no more deciding cost on the basis of design, but by the market driven standards when we talk about target costing. And remember, here in this target costing, there is a greater emphasis on what market is willing to pay than what is my cost of production. Whatever is your cost of production, you bear with that, because market is not going to bear with that cost. Market has its own set of expectations. Market knows, customers are aware, since market is competitive, customers are aware of the product quality and price with specifications. So you have to actually design your costing system according to that only. So do remember, my dear learners, that it is entirely different from standard cost, which were determined by design. In standard costing, which we were driven by the standard costing system, by the product design. We were deciding our cost, simply informing this is my cost, you add your profit and decide the selling price. Now the costing department, or you can say the entire costing unit, is getting a target cost, that this is your target cost, and within that within the boundaries of that target cost, you have to design your entire production process, you have to streamline your entire production process. So this was all about target costing. Now we shall move on to another method, which is also a very significant tool in the domain of strategic cost management, that is called life cycle costing. So my dear learners, you all must be aware of the product life cycle. When we study the subject of marketing, there we are teaching you product life cycle, in which we show you that there are different stages of a product, starting from introduction to growth, maturity, and then decline. And every stage is involving some amount of cost. Since we are talking from the perspective of cost accounting, we have to understand that what life cycle has to do with the costing, or what is the connection of costing with that of life cycle of a product. So that is what we are going to discuss here. Do remember that different phases of a product's life cycle, they involve expenses on account of different types of cost. So every stage of the life cycle of a product, it is involving a different type of cost, or you can say it involves some cost, but it is of different type. And we have to, as a cost accountant, or as a management accountant, we have to identify such cost to be incurred during the different phases of the PLC, that is product life cycle, and that is very essential for us. Why so? Because nowadays when we are dealing with the durable products, it is very, very pertinent and very important for those products which are durable in nature, because they are high involvement products in the language of marketing. What we do here is, we are not only selling the products, but we are also giving them a promise of after sales services. So the life cycle of a product starts with this, that initially there is no cost to be incurred on account of repairs and renewal, and later on company is offering those services also. So we have to understand that not only the after sales services, but also during the stage of production, there are different stages where you need to incur some amount of cost. So life cycle costing basically offers us a platform, or it gives us an idea of taking care of or considering all possible cost into our calculation. Otherwise some cost may be left, and later on whatever selling price we had decided, the product has been sold out, and that cost is supposed to be borne by the marketer, by the producer, not the customer, because customer was already aware of the price. So later on you cannot tell your customer that, see, this was the price of the product, and somehow we ignored this cost, and now since we have identified, you need to pay this cost also. If you feel like doing so, definitely you are going to cut a sorry figure in front of customers, which no marketer would be willing to do. So life cycle costing, basically when we talk about the features of life cycle costing, in this what we do, all the costs which are associated with the product for its entire life cycle is called as life cycle cost. So in single line, you have understood what is life cycle cost. Each and every cost which is associated with the product for its entire life cycle, that is called life cycle cost. Now what does it includes? What it comprises of? What can be the possible composition of life cycle cost? It starts from the development of a product, where you are developing a product, which means planning, designing and testing. And then second is production cost, that is conversion activities, obviously the processing, and last one is logistics support, that is advertising, distribution, after sales services and so on. So in this life cycle costing, what we do, we are going for identification of life cycle cost that ensures correct pricing of a product, and do remember that ignorance of such cost may result into reduction of profit. So this was about life cycle costing. And then the third one is Kaizen costing. In Kaizen costing, basically it's a Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement in terms of your product cost. It is also known as Kaizen costing, and it's a mechanism for reducing and managing cost. It is a Japanese term for making continuous improvements in relatively small activities rather than major innovative improvement. In Japanese business philosophy, they do care about each and every cost, be it a minuscule one, be it a very nominal cost. They say that we need to go for continuously improving our costing standards, or taking care of the total cost. It is applied during the manufacturing stage of the product life cycle. And usually standard costing system, they aim to achieve the standard cost set by the management, whereas in Kaizen costing, the costing department is aiming to bring the actual cost well below the standard cost. Their target is not to meet the standard, but they try to somehow define a new standard which is well below, or whatever is possible, to the possible extent they try to reduce the standard cost, and the potential cost reductions are smaller. Although they are smaller, but products are, and why they are smaller? Because products are already in the manufacturing stage of its life cycle. So in Kaizen costing, there is a mandate to reduce cost, improve product quality through continuous efforts, and do remember that it can only be applied in the primary stages of production. Although it has a limited potential for reducing cost of existing products, but it may definitely offer useful information for future target costing efforts. So with this, we had discussed about these important tools of strategic cost management. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed these topics. Thank you so much.